Do you have tips for auditions? Asks Michelle. Just make sure you're really well prepared, because I think at an audition, no matter if it's your first one or if you've done years of auditions, you will always be a little bit nervous, because it's just, you have to prove yourself and that. So I think the best thing is to make sure that you really know what you're going to do. So the song that you're going to sing, that you're really comfortable, and that you don't have to worry about, oh, do I remember the text and will it go right? So just make sure you're really well prepared and you know what you're auditioning for, because for some shows it's better to sing something rock, and for some you want to sing something more old-fashioned. So make sure you know what show you're auditioning for and prepare, and then just try to relax and enjoy and be open. I think that's the main thing. Do you still have stage fright, and what's the worst thing that ever happened at a gig? Do I still have stage fright? No, not really. When you do en suite, we do 7 or sometimes 8 shows a week. So I think if you would be nervous every time, that would not be good for your heart. But it's still, you never know. Every show is different. So you're always concentrated and always, I wouldn't say nervous, but you have to be awake and on top of your game. It's not this is our job, obviously, but it's not a job where you can just walk into and go through the routine, because it's a special job. So you have to be focused and alert, but I'm not really nervous. And the worst thing that ever happened to me at a gig, let me think. I once forgot my lines in Greece, which is not really nice, because and what else? Oh, we had in Joseph, we had a costume, and it was, I don't know what the word is actually, it was the Egyptian things like this, and then with the thing in front, don't know the word, but and once my front came off, so I stood there in my underwear, basically. So that wasn't that wasn't great either. And in Vampires, so far so good. Nothing really bad happened, but we still have 2 weeks to play, so maybe Linda, how would you describe the role of your vampire? How is the character? What's the name of the vampire that you play? Because it's a historic piece with all the vampires, when we rehearsed, they gave us a little frame, of the time period, and I am loosely based on Louis XIV, so that's a French character with the big wig and they called him the Sun King. So I'm not that character, but I'm from that era. So that I don't really have a vampire name, and what I really like about the show is that it can be different every night, because this is not a show where everyone has to do exactly the same with a really tight frame. They really, for instance in Tanz, they encourage us to be your own character and everything, and what I think is so great that it's so different every time. So what I try, and when you play so often you always sort of do the same, but I try to do little things different, and sometimes your mood is different every day, so it's nice to take some of that into the show. So sometimes I'm really aggressive, and sometimes I'm a little bit more. So yeah, it's different every time, but it's loosely based on. I'm interested in why I cannot hear you separately sing and whether you would want it. That's the thing with Ensemble. It's always we call it the mix, so we have the 10 singers and we have the 10 dancers and we have some principals that sometimes sing as well in the ensemble, and it's always a mix where you don't hear one voice but you hear everyone as a group. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm mainly a dancer. I sing as well, but we have such amazing singers in the show, so it's actually good that they're the singers and we're the dancers. So yeah, it's good like this.
Dag, een dag voor een lied en een lach. Zo'n dag van oud en wauw. En wist je van dat gras, hoe groen het was. En die lucht zo blauw.
Have you ever experienced a funny situation when you scared the audience after each guy? I actually think it's one of the highlights of the show every time, because you never know what's gonna happen. So I've had, normally it's like a normal scare, but sometimes when someone really just screams or jumps from their seat, I love it. It's really cool. Yeah, so nothing really special, but yeah, it's great if you have a good scare. What has you until now in your entire career at most touched? Ooh, I love when we haven't really had it here, but in Holland sometimes we have a special show for instance, kids from a children's hospital. I've had that with Greece and with other shows, and sometimes we have this foundation in Holland which is called Make-A-Wish, where people who are really ill or maybe gonna die, they can send a special wish for like something they would want. And I think sometimes we've had people, for instance, in a hospital bed in the audience just to watch because that's their final wish. And I think it's so special because you always think like theater, it's not, you don't save lives, and it's not an important job as being a doctor or being something like that. But on days like that, that's always touching to me, because you realize like, okay, for us, we're singing, we're dancing, it's not the biggest job in the world, but you realize that for some people who are sick, or it's really a big part of their lives, and they get really a lot of a lot of energy and things like that out of it, and then you suddenly realize, okay, I'm not a doctor, but it's still a special job, and it can still mean a lot to people. Or for instance, the fans. I think if you see how enthusiastic the fans are, it's great to give that joy to people. So those are the things that really touch me or us.
Seid willkommen, Brüder, in diesem Saal. Als wer versammelt war beim letzten Mal, war unsere Mahlzeit ein Bauer ausgewählt und bleich. Ihr wart betrübt, aber ich sagte euch, ist ein Jahr mager, der das nächste Jahr. Die ewig leben, dass ihr die Sucht nach frischem Blut haben wir